All right. Good morning, Tartaria Australia. We've made it back for another show ahead of schedule. It's Wednesday, for God's sakes, Campbell. We are ahead of the game this week.
We
I
are.
don't think
There's
it's
lots
ever
to
happened,
talk about,
actually.
right? Lots to talk about, lots of ends to tie up. So we're back. We're back. And
Yeah, we're having a little internet connectivity issue, but bear with us.
bear
You
with
there?
us. I
Yes.
know, all
Okay.
this advanced technology, right? And we can't even bloody Zoom properly. Geez, they didn't have these problems back in 2020,
Oh,
did
that's a
they?
good shove, Cam.
Oh,
No, it's a bit unstable today, but I do have my mic back on for all my microphone haters out there who always have something to say about my volume or the whatever, whatever, whatever.
I
It's back
know.
on, Campbell, so maybe I'll be quite angelic again today.
Well, I've got a microphone too, but it's not a small phone. It's actually rather large. Why do they call them microphones, I wonder?
Yeah, that's true. So, buddy, what a weird week. I've had a weird week. It's been a weird, energetic week. Do you know what happened yesterday to me personally? I can't believe I did this. But I think this sums up maybe a lot of people's week, which is what. So every single week we have to take our wheelie bins and drag them behind the ute up to the main road. And guess what I did yesterday?
You
Just guess what I did.
I don't know. You drag the bins up? I don't know. What happened? Inform me.
Well, I did drag the bins up, but then when I got to the road, I promptly forgot that that was my mission, and I drove into town.
With the bins on the back? Are you
The
serious?
wheelie bin attached to the back of my ute. So I dragged this. Oh, I'm serious. And I didn't get stopped until I was in the middle of the town at the main zebra crossing, where all these people were flagging me down to tell me that I had this like dying wheelie bin dragging behind my ute. It was like so embarrassing. And I just had to click into my dignity and like, say, no, this is intentional. I am deliberately doing this. And then I had to slink around a side street while everyone was laughing and watching and chuck the wheelie bin into the back of the ute. How mortifying. And then to make it even worse, I had to come back and pick up all the rubbish.
Oh
God,
God.
that I think summarizes the week. And then last night on the same day, my partner in crime filled the diesel engine car with unleaded petrol. Both really mindless acts, very mindless. And I think everyone's struggling with a bit of mindlessness, maybe, or is that the right word, mindlessness? Or just
We're entering
like
the void. Yeah, yeah. Let us know in the comments, guys. Have you had a weird week? But
so yeah, so Campbell, so it's been a weird week, and you were just telling me that also the weird extraterrestrial outer space fucking whatever it is has made contact, and also the digital ID kicked off today, and here we are. So let's just quickly sum those up.
yes, yes. Well, I have checked Facebook and I got in with no issues, so that's good. I had a look at TikTok. I got a warning, but that was it. Well, just something saying, "Oh, it's digital ID." So it'll be interesting to see how it rolls out, because as we know, it's all bullshit, right? Under 16s don't use Facebook, they don't use Instagram, they don't use X, they hardly use any of these platforms that are being they're being banned
From the olden
for their
days.
safety, right? Yeah, that's the oldie sites, right? But they're free to peruse as many prawn sites as they would like.
And video game sites, which are all connected to the underground grooming chats. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a retarded situation, definitely, but obviously it's a gateway to what they really want to do, which,
Yeah.
this is just step one.
That's step one of just bringing in, yeah, more control, right? Next step, 15-minute cities.
Anyway, we'll just see what happens. We'll just
Mm,
observe that one. We're setting up our little systems around us, so that's cool.
we're
Yep,
working on it,
again,
yes.
go and subscribe to the newsletter or just go and subscribe to the website. Just go and put your email somewhere.
Definitely, because if this does all go pear-shaped, which I kind of, I really don't think it will. I think there's just going to be so much backlash. And hopefully that these, elites and, weirdos who think they're in control, the ones in charge at the moment, will just disappear soon because we're going into a positive charge and they won't be able to do it. But yeah, the three-eyed monster.
They'll dissolve in our reality
The three-eyed
eventually.
space monster is coming today. Maybe that's why our internet connection is bad because it's about to land and take over everything. And of course, some people think it's an alien ship, mothership coming to invade us. Others think it's a mothership full of aliens coming to help us. Others think it's a frequency change. I think it's NASA doing Photoshop. I mean, well, I mean, you think like what's happened in the last year? There's been such an alien agenda, right? Remember all the drones, like the end of last year, and then this
Yeah.
year we've had all this disclosure, right?
Yeah.
Disclosure from government officials, if you want to believe that one. And there's a Netflix documentary that so they've been building up, and then wow, just by coincidence, an alien mothership
Right
appears
on
on the
schedule.
horizon. Yeah, right on schedule, right?
Oh, right on schedule.
Like it was planned or something.
The schedule's great. It's fantastic. Just like everything else in our history, that lays right on schedule. These innovations and, technological advances, all right on schedule.
Right, it's almost like it's a
No,
script or something.
yeah, like no room for actual organic innovation or any sort of like obvious like step, the next step builds upon the none of that. It just always just appears in the timeline
Mm,
across the world.
yes, yes. I know, right? And they always have to put it into our subconscious first so that we accept it, right? So
That's
you get all
right.
these
That's
build up,
right.
build up, build up, build up, and there it is. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So
Right
it's
on
it's
schedules.
it's quite silly, really.
I mean, pretty fascinating to watch it though from our lens, isn't it? Like watching the marching orders roll out across the realm, and the only place they're really rolling out is online.
It's
Which does lead us back to our very interesting topic of this day. But before we get into it, Cam, I just want to remind people and re-inspire everyone. We've got our 12-hour Christmas special. It's not a
solstice
Christmas special.
special.
It's just happening
Solstice.
around. So it's a special. But we do this the first time we've done such a crazy live Zoom. It's going to be all done on Zoom. It's all live and it's 12 hours because we want to reach every time zone. So, and that's a 12-hour window for us. So the show kicks off at 8 a.m. Queensland time on the 21st and ends at 8 p.m. Queensland time on the 21st. And then if you go to the information either on the website or on the tickets, you'll see that there's a whole list of time zone um, equations. So
Time
you know when to log
conversions.
on, what the
Yeah.
conversions. So I mean, for American England, you're going to start in the evening, then you're going to go to sleep, and we're going to carry on. And then, but when you wake up, we're going to be still there, and we'll cheer you into the new day from Australia. It's going to be super fun. We've got all our favorites joining us. Cam, who's joining us for the event?
Wow, we've got Guy Anderson, Martin from Flat Earth British, Michelle Gibson, Dale Holmes, and I've just spoken with Paula, so maybe even Paula
Yeah,
from Victoria will pop on for a bit with her
yeah.
ideas. And we're going to attempt to finish this six-part series that it will be on the ocean and the internet and what's really down there and fish gods and why they're making us look up to the three-eyed monster when we probably should be looking down.
It's going to be cool. Like obviously we're privileged to have some beautiful minds who characteristically we've never asked to watch any of our shows before or actually engage in anything we're chatting about. We usually come on and do an independent, topic with each of our guests, but this time around we've actually asked them all to have a look at this series and this theory so that they can add their thoughts to it because I'm sure that between all of them they're going to have some excellent new ideas that we haven't even thought about.
Yes, I
I'm just
tell you.
saying that it happened very spontaneously this series and it's been really fun it's been probably our most intuitive one to follow through at such a length. So we're very excited to hear what everyone else has to say. So that's going to be one really cool aspect. And our guests will be joining us throughout the 12 hours. But what else are we doing, Cam? It's going to be fun. What else are we doing over those
Yes.
12 hours?
Well, we have some quizzes, and there will be prizes for the people who win those. We've got quizzes. We're doing breakout rooms. So anyone who is looking for love, maybe, people who want to find people to buy land to get things
Which
started.
plagues us.
Plagues us, I know.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't plague you, but here I sit all
No, it
alone.
doesn't plague.
It's an issue, right? It's all different, right? Because even if you see someone, you're like, oh, I like the look of them. We've got the whole Jabberwocky thing to contend with and all of this kind of stuff. And I mean, even to get into a pub, I went to like a pub, God, a couple of months ago now. And when you go in, they want to take photos of you and get your bloody ID and all this digital ID crap, right? So that's off limits now, I guess. So what do we do, right? We've got to look within our own tribe. So we'll be doing that. We're going
Yeah,
to have
exactly. And
people
yes, and
contributing music and the such.
music's very exciting. So if you are a musician out there and you've written some original music, then either jump on and do it live or jump on and you can do a live share to pre-recording, either, on YouTube or wherever you've got it already online. So it would be pretty simple. But yes, definitely an invitation to the musicians out there to get on board and join the live. Comedians, always fun. And we've challenged everyone who buys a ticket with their weirdest story, the story that like just is the one that they tell, the one that is so mind-blowing that's happened over this lifetime. So we want people to contribute their weird stories. And of course, it's a live Q&A the whole time. So it's completely interactive the entire time, which is excellent. And we're going to request some moderators out there to make sure the questions are getting through as we're talking. We're going to like get you to the bad dad joke sloshy stage of your drinking process.
What do you mean bad?
So
Come
we
on.
can't get him too sloshed until it's all over. But yeah, so it's basically like a big, chaotic, wild, relaxed Zoom meeting, sort of designed that you could just put it on in the background and just hang out and just tune in when you want to and drink when you want to and hang out and maybe encourage you to invite some people around from the community in your area and just have a really sort of pre-Christmas amble with your consciously awake community before you have to go into your segregated, family units where you cannot talk and you are destined to keep your mouth shut and smile and be a nice human being.
Agree with it all,
So
yes.
it's because it's that moment of relief before. Yep. So
Yeah.
I reckon it's going to be a really fun experiment. We've never done anything like this before. Tickets are $20.26 for obvious reasons. There's no reason why anyone can't jump on. So the links will be underneath here, and we're really excited to make connection with the whole community across the world. I'm pumped, man. We've never
Yeah.
done it. I'm super excited. And it
That'd
gives
be
everyone
cool.
from everywhere a chance to contribute. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so link below and tartariaaustralia.com. Guys, every time we put something like this up, there's comments all the way through going, where do I get it? Where do I go? Guys, come on, listen, tartariaaustralia.com. There's only one place to do all of this stuff ever. All right.
There's only
And
one
if you've got
place.
anything that you do want to send in, if you're a comedian or a musician and you want to, pre-record something, you've got to send that to tartariaaustralia@gmail.com. Please don't send it to me. Like I get so many. They come on Facebook, they come on my phone messages, they come to my email. If they don't turn up to tartariaaustralia.com anymore, we can't put them in because most of the time I don't even see them. And especially for the newspaper, link below, we're doing the second edition. We're posting it out this week.
Oh, and the newspaper.
Yeah, but I get stuff sent to me
Yes, the
again
newspaper's arrived.
all over the place. People are sending me stuff. Basically, you have to be subscribed if you want to submit to the newspaper. So anything that comes to me on any other platforms, unfortunately, just will not be looked at. So I know that you don't like rules, but this is the only way we can do
Yeah,
it.
he's
You
right.
have to go through tartariaaustralia.com or tartariaaustralia@gmail.com. That's it. Only two, right? Easy to remember.
Yes, and on that topic, the newspaper has arrived, second edition. Thank God. Look, everyone, thank you for your patience. We're 2 weeks behind schedule because it should have come out in November. So everyone who's wondering where is my magazine, and just a side note of the first edition, you haven't been forgotten. We just ran out of the first edition, which means you've signed up for this edition and this edition forward. You will be getting 6 editions a year. That's how it rolls out each time we produce a magazine. And just remember, it's just Campbell and I. There's no team around us. So working out the systems. And every edition gets clearer and smoother, and we understand the timings, how long it takes to put it together, to go through submissions, to get it to the printer, how long the printer needs, and then how long the whole thing takes to get to you guys with the postage. So just be patient with us because we're putting in a lot of work to make this system run with just two people's energies. So it will be sent So hopefully everyone in Australia will get it next week, and then else we'll have it in the mail and it'll be on its way. So that's super exciting. So I feel like we've got 2 feet in the ground now, 2 editions, 2 feet. The next edition will give us a leg. And the next edition will give us 2 legs. And eventually we'll have a full-bodied
Have a full-bodied, yes.
manifestation of the newspaper.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, all right, that's all
Yes.
the community updates, Campbell.
Yes, that's it.
Sorry, we're struggling with the lag here, everyone.
I know.
Yep.
If
We're
anyone
going to keep
knows how to
going
get
with
better
the lag.
internet connections, let us know. Maybe we need to get you a
Yeah.
booster or something. It's Elon's fault. Bloody
So I
Elon
just,
Musk.
yeah,
That's what it is.
blame Elon.
Blame Elon
Maybe a shark's bitten something.
if he really
All right.
exists.
So I just want to share, yes, if he really existed, because one of the community members, Legend, sent through a video for us to watch today, which I have to say the timing is excellent. This dropped 2 days ago on the BBC as an
Oh,
introduction
yes.
trailer. It hasn't been released, but it got dropped. And you are not going to believe the topic of what this is. So let me just share screen and show you this because it's fucking insane timing. You
It's
guys are going to
crazy.
not believe this.
This is highly classified and we shouldn't even be sharing this with you.
It's our brand new trailer for the war between the land and the sea.
The tides have drawn us together.
We would speak with him.
Me?
Homo Aqua chose you.
What happens now?
We inherited their world. They want it back.
We will flood. We will drown. We will choke. We could end the conflict between our species.
Oh, today's the day. We stop.
That's all I've got for you.
Homo
What?
Aqua. Homo Aqua, man. Aquaman. There you go. I mean, we've been told this stuff
My
a lot,
God.
right?
The war between the different species. Yeah, Homo aqua.
Homo Aqua. That's crazy.
So I mean that really does bring back so much to our conversation. So I think that's going to be available in a month or so. And we're going to see them really from this level the first time, like presenting this idea of an aquatic species that is essentially at war with us and vice versa. How's how they even said inherited this world, inherited
Yes.
our world.
Yeah.
I
Like,
mean, the
we're
language. And
the
oh my God, it's on the back
aliens.
of that quote, Campbell.
Yeah, yeah. The 1 foot in the ocean and the 1 foot on the land,
I'm
right?
going to remind you.
Which, by the way, is on the back
Yes,
of the next edition
exactly. Oh
of the
my God.
newspaper.
How is the synchronicities there?
It's crazy, man. We're on the edge, right? That's where we live. We're living
Yes,
on the
yes, yes.
edge.
And I'll bring it up in a minute just to remind you.
I know.
Self-acknowledged and completely aware of the edge as well.
Yes. We might not be as big as
I'm just going to
Candace
remind you of that
Owens,
quote off the back of that.
but at least we're on the edge.
Well, we're not Jewish, are we, my darling? So let's remind you of this quote. Ready? From 1858 about the transatlantic cable, the angel in the book of Revelation with 1 foot on sea and 1 foot on land, proclaiming time is no longer. I mean, how relevant is that to this friggin' movie that's coming out? It's blown my mind.
It's
We
crazy,
should
right?
we should watch it all together as a Tartarian community.
Yeah, we can have a watch party. Yeah,
If
and I was just
we can figure out how to stream it, yeah, I reckon we should all watch it together
do a watch party. Yeah, I was just
because
thinking
it's
about
going
the
to be
statue.
excellent and we're just going to be like, get fucked.
Sorry, we've got a bit of a lag going here. But yeah, the Statue of Liberty, right? We've all heard that, what that may be modeled off, the whole face and the picture of Lucifer and that. Um, it's in the water. It's on its own little island in the water. That's quite interesting,
It is
right?
on its own little white. That's true. It's in its own little water base ecosystem. It's true.
Mm.
It's in the water.
Which is a Mandela
So
effect as well, by the way. It used to be on, is it Emerson Island? I can't remember. Some other island. Now it's on the Statue of Liberty Island. Interesting.
I mean, it's interesting now because obviously they've put all of their energy, their movie
Ellis
energy,
Island.
their
Ellis Island, sorry.
there we go. Put all of their movies in production, which obviously is designed to pre-program our subconscious. and they've really focused on zombies and apocalypses and aliens.
And
So this is the
vampires.
first time, and vampires. This is the first time they've released a movie that's actually talking about an aquatic species outside of Aquaman, which doesn't really count.
Ah,
So
they
that's
were so
Superman
bad,
shit.
though.
But
Those movies were so bad.
that would actually put the world's attention, answering a lot of the questions that we've like discussed. So it's pretty fascinating timing. It would denote to me that they're ready to disclose some of this ocean mystery potentially, that maybe there's going to be some ocean action that we're not anticipating, and potentially this movie's just prepping everyone. So I reckon we will do a watch party together, because I think that would be fucking mind blowing, and we'll all really love it. And we'll organize that. So side note. So thanks for that
Mm,
contribution out there who sent that to our attention. So that dropped 2 days
yes.
ago.
Yes, and we might be going further on this. I've got to have a chat, but have been introduced to a man who used to drive research ships, icebreakers down to Antarctica for 20 years. And he has some very interesting stories of what he saw under the water off the coast of Antarctica. So you'll have
Yes.
to
Well,
keep your ears and eyes open for that one. We're going to see if we can get him on for a chat
yeah, hopefully to the Christmas special, Campbell, to add to the storyline.
to add. But you have to be there
So, all right.
or you
So
miss
this
out.
this show today, this show today came while we were in the middle of the Ocean series, and so historically something came up to bring our attention to it. But I just pre-note what happened to even ask the question. So, and then we'll get into it, because it's equally as paradigm shifting, bringing this topic all together again. So I woke up a week ago, and just randomly, I was fast asleep and then woke up, and the very first thought that entered my head,
So you broke up a little bit there. Yeah, where do all the carrots come from? How come they're always in the supermarkets all the
yeah,
time? And why are they orange? They used to be purple.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a really profound question, because we've looked at a few things to do with the food chain. Obviously there's a lot of context around the human DNA in the McDonald's burgers. The last one was 1,300 strands of human DNA tested on 1/4 pounder. That was a test that was done this year by one of the universities. So we already know there's a lot of questions about the food chain as far as fast food goes. We also can bring into the topic our shows about the bodies and the statistics on death and burials, and where we seem to have very little evidence of new cemeteries or burials coming in. So that's another side of the topic. But then let's just go back to the carrot question, because, like, let's really think. When I sat down and thought about it, and I want to pitch, like, let's everyone, just shut your eyes and bring to your head your local grocery store.
Um,
And that grocery store in Australia is essentially Woolworths, but all around the world, you all have your big chain grocery stores. Now, I want you to shut your eyes and walk into that grocery store, and you will all get an instant picture of what is there. You'll all see it, because it's never fucking changed. So for my entire life, every single day across the last almost 50 years, I have been able to enter into the supermarket, any supermarket, and I am presented with exactly the same image. There's always tomatoes, oranges, but broccoli, turnips, eggplants, apples. Then you've got all the meat and oh, can you hear me, Campbell? We've broken up.
yes, yes, you've come back.
Yes, you got all the meat. Everything is perfectly laid out and perfectly consistent, and it's never fucking changed, ever, ever. Never, ever, ever. There's always carrots, for example. Let's focus on carrots. There's always carrots. So when you go anywhere across the Western world, there's always carrots, not only at the big supermarkets, but always at the general stores and the little 7-Elevens and whatever, whatever. You will always have carrots. Your whole fucking life, there's always been carrots. Now, I want to ask you, Cam, have you ever, ever in your entire life driven past a carrot farm?
No, I have
Ever?
not. No.
And then in
Mm,
your whole life, Cam, like, right, really, we've traversed a lot of Australia and a lot of the rest of the world. Like, in your whole life, how often have you driven past a vegetable farm, you know?
no.
Or, like, the most consistent thing we would see would be bigger orchards. But honestly, if you take 50 years of existence here in Australia and the amount of land we have, I mean, that's the other weird thing, Cam. Like, you can drive anywhere in Australia, it'll take you days and days to like weeks to traverse the whole country. But you drive anywhere for a day inland, you will see just infinite amount of empty land. Infinite amount of empty land. Land, green empty land, not desert, green empty land. And yet it is never taken up by a considerable amount of farming. And when you consider the population of any Western country, I mean, I can't speak for the Eastern countries, but it's classically fucked up because the Western countries have destroyed their food chain and imported Nestle and Cadbury and all that stuff. But just speaking Western, even though I think it's true for the whole realm, in the Western world, think about how far you've traversed your own country and how often in your lifetime you've literally driven past any vegetable farm, carrot farm, tomato farm, any single farm that would be relevant to the fact that you can get access to that fresh vegetable every day,
Yeah, I mean,
consistently.
there's market gardens out there, but I mean, there's a lot less now than there used to be, right? Like all the old, where people used to grow vegetables and that's all housing estates now, right? They just keep shutting down the farming and the population keeps rising apparently, but there's always
Yep.
enough food. And this
Yes.
is also, we've got to think about fast food too, right? Not carrots, but lettuce. Like,
Yes.
how long does lettuce last?
Yes.
What are we talking? A week at best, right? But there's always lettuce for all the fast food, for all the supermarkets, for all the restaurants.
You're so
But
right. The fast food.
mm,
You're right. You're right. The fast food chains all require these vegetables as well. And then we're led to believe that all the other products in the supermarket are also full of and require all these vegetables, garlic, onion, carrots, like consistently, tomatoes. How many tomatoes are required in the world? Think about how many people use tomatoes every day and canned tomatoes and bolognese and all other forms of cooking. Like it's just a consistent thing, all those canned tomatoes and all the canned vegetables, and then all the other products that require those
yeah,
sorts of inputs that
all
we're
the
told.
soups, all that kind of stuff, and every burger has tomatoes on it, right? And people have, it's kind of exploded. Like, where does all the meat come from? But no one's asking where do the veggies come from because it's the same issue. And it's interesting that, the fallen angels, or are they the risen fish gods, introduced agriculture.
Yeah, that's right. From the water, may I add? Like, I mean, what would they know about it? So did they introduce underground hydroponics, electrical food production? What piece of knowledge did they actually introduce? Was it really the knowledge about agriculture since they came from the oceans in a way that would connect the whole world globally and completely control the food chain? Are you getting me speaking here, or am I just freezing?
You are freezing, so we're getting most of it. Thanks, Elon Musk. They're onto us. They're bloody
Sorry,
onto us.
everyone.
We're so far out on the edge. They're all watching us, and they're like, pause button, pause button. Um, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, like
so I was just going to say, I looked
the
into
meat's
it.
replenished, Cam.
Oh.
Yeah, go on.
We're talking over each other. Um, and when you look into it, they do admit, oh, look, there is facilities underground where they're growing vegetables under ultraviolet lights and all this kind of stuff, hydroponics. But it's only just brand new, right? And they're reusing old air raid shelters and all this. But we know the deal, right? If they're telling us this now, it means they've been doing it for decades, right? And we've all heard about the dums and the underground tunnels and the underground bases and all this stuff. So where's all this stuff really coming from, right? But we know that the veggies we get today, well, they tell us, the nutritional value is, what, half or less than what it used to be. Is
Oh,
that because it's
it's nothing like that.
nothing, is
It's
that it's
it's
not growing under the sun?
yeah, I mean, just from a carbonate my like perspective, one carrot in a community garden level versus is 20,000% higher nutritional value than one carrot grown or sold at Woolworths. So I mean, you need to eat 200 Woolworths carrots to equal the nutritional density of one carrot grown in this soil under, healthy conditions. So that's a massive thing, right? That's a massive thing. And you could think about the meat every single day need to be replenished, but we've never been in a situation where there's been no meat. It just automatically gets replenished. Same with the dairy, same with the fruit, same with the vegetables. This constant expiring food chain every couple of days is constantly replaced across the whole realm. I mean, the numbers are fucking massive. They're so
Mm.
big, it's almost incomprehensible. Just like rest your mind on the concept of how many carrots are bought and sold and used in cooking, cafes, restaurants, homes, and then in industrial food production every day. It's actually mind-blowing, the numbers, and yet none of us ever drive past carrot farms. And we all live in countries that have a massive amount of empty land. So empty. Like you would think by now that would become a massive, all of it would just be coming, given over to food production as the population increases, if it does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's true. Like, there's so much, and especially when you talk about things like tomatoes, right? Like you said before, it's in everything. Tomatoes have got so many products. Dairy's kind of the same, right? But
Yeah.
there's never a halt on it. And then you got things, and vegetables don't last that long. You got things like capsicums, right? You put a capsicum on the bench for 3 days, and it's like, yeah, it's non-edible. And none of these foods, as far as we can tell, are even natural, right? They tell us all, oh, they're hybrids, like lettuce used to be just like one little leaf, like a little weed thing, and carrots used to just be this little tiny
It's none of it's,
root,
yes.
so it's all probably
Yep.
genetically engineered, but they tell us, oh no, they just kept growing the best, vegetables, and over hundreds of years they turned into what we've got today. But vegetable gardens, I think it was in our video food disclosure, we talked about how no one really used to grow vegetables until World War II. And then they were all told you've got to grow vegetables to help the war effort, right? Just like tax, you've got to pay more tax to help the war effort. Then we'll take it away. We promise. So it's very interesting, and this comes back to the whole diet question that we've been going through for years. What are we supposed to eat? And why is that a question? Isn't that retarded? It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's retarded. I mean, vegetables, nothing that we buy in our supermarkets our whole life has a natural organic origin in the world.
No.
This is not wild food, and it never was. And at the best, your version of a wild tomato is like this little tiny, bitter, little tiny, like it's there. These are not grown in nature organically. So that's a good clue because it means that they've appeared from somewhere. So we've got a whole food chain that is presented to us every single day with this visual presentation of being fresh and local. And that's across all the marketing on every single supermarket chain across the whole world, fresh and local. But the
Yeah.
thing that gets me, and bring up capsicums, is like every day of my life, I can go in and get, and go and see a display of all of these fruit and vegetables with nothing missing, no matter the season, no matter what's happening in the world, never anything missing. And there's always fucking capsicums. Yellow
And
capsicums, green capsicums, and red capsicums. No one ever buys capsicums. At the most, you might buy one or two or five a
Taco
year.
Tuesday, man, come on.
Yeah, I mean, like the amount of people who literally eat and cook what they're called peppers overseas, but capsicums in Australia, like compared to the fact that they're always there in abundance, shiny red, yellow, and green at every supermarket my whole life, is like it makes me feel like I'm looking at a set. Like these
Yeah.
are props because capsicums do not sell. I mean, you guys think about how many capsicums you actually buy a year. When you're pushed, you might buy one for a stir fry or one for a guacamole. But really, it's a very
It's not much.
unpopular and unutilized vegetable that's in our grocery stores in abundance every single day of my life.
Yeah, and they're always perfect.
Always
Pests don't
perfect.
get into them. And of course, they'll say, well, we just spray the crap out of them with chemicals. But is that true, or is it because they're grown somewhere else in an unnatural environment, right? You try growing a capsicum or a tomato in your veggie garden, you're going to lose half of them, to vegetables, to
Yeah.
insects, right? They'll just burrow in
Yep.
and they'll stuff them all up for you just when the day after, you're just about to pick them, and then you go out and they're all stuffed up, right? A hot day in Australia, right? You get one, really hot day, half your veggies are gone. So how are they doing this? They're always so perfect, right?
Yeah. And
Where's it coming from?
even during the COVID shutdowns, any food shortages that we saw were manufactured. We
Yeah.
knew that. Like you could see, like when we went into Woolworths, there was all these different items missing from the shelves. But then if you go into a non-Woolworths affiliated grocery store like IGA here in Australia, they're all there, no problem. And and like the toilet paper, all of that stuff, it was so manufactured, but it didn't mean the food wasn't there to provide on the shelves because it was. And so even with people rushing the supermarkets, by the next day, for the most part, at least the ones not tied up in the agenda of the illusion were stocked and ready to go like normal.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, this is a thing, they're not natural. Who's ever walked through the bush or the forest in whatever country you're in and gone, oh my gosh, there's a capsicum plant. Look at these. Oh my gosh, there's a tomato plant. They don't exist
Yeah.
in nature.
Yeah. So the food chain is a delusion. It's an illusion, right? The food chain's an illusion, which means that the food chain got introduced. So we know with the World Trade Fairs that they were very big about introducing food items. And then, of course, at the same time, vegetables in their current state got introduced, more industrially, globally into supermarkets. So there was a very obvious moment in time where our food chain was basically introduced to us. And then before that, we were in the Tartarian realms and we can't even find evidence for food. So it's
Right.
very interesting that we've gone from a moment in our past where we can't find evidence for it, like no old massive vegetable gardens, no old massive silos and food storage units, like no massive industrial farms that were established and kept going, no bathrooms, no kitchens, no toilets, nothing accommodating for food production. And then suddenly we're here post reset, and the 1800s hits, and bang, we're introduced to the fresh food people, Campbell, and the fast food people, Campbell. So one has to assess that there is energy going in to our food production, but that it may not be energy that we are conscious of. Like, what's the energetic input that's going in to produce these fresh foods, vegetables, meats, dairy, etc.? Like, what is the input, across the globe? And I don't think it's soil, my friend.
No, no. I mean, are they grown underground or are they printed? We've all this information's come out recently, mainly to do with meat, printed meat. Like, how much of this food is printed? Because we know again, right, if they're showing us it now, it's been going on for decades. And that would
Yeah.
also account for the fact that there's no nutritional value in them. It's like the replicator on Star Trek, right? Oh, give me a carrot. Boom. Oh, there
Yeah.
it is, instantly.
And the fact that the printed food and the rubbery food and the plastic food and all that food that's getting highlighted on social media is like out in the market right now, like that's a deliberate thing, but like essentially what we may be getting to is that that's been going on since the introduction of the fresh food chain 200 years ago. It's been going on since then. So for them to start to like highlight things like putting fake meat and plastic vegetables and fruit on into the market, so people knowing that people would notice it and observe it, they must be at a level of not giving a shit anymore and just wanting ready to disclose it,
Yeah.
like
I think they know their time is short, right? Or are they getting ready, fake food for the fake people they want, the whole transhuman agenda, robots, right? I mean, God, they're now making robots that they are covering with flesh that they grow
mm,
across them. It's just like the Terminator, right? When he like cuts his arm and he's like, "Oh, look at my little metal endoskeleton." That they're now growing skin over
yeah.
robots.
I mean, and robots won't require food, and aquaman species, their food would be like micronutrients if we're to look at sort of the food chain
Yeah,
of fish and
krill or seaweed maybe.
yeah, micronutrients. And us humans have been sold the illusion of food and that we require it. I mean, like, let's just think
Well,
about that. Like, have they set it up because they needed us to start to like take food in that we've never done before? So, and all the food, and would they be doing that because what we put into our bodies ultimately dumbs them down, makes them sick, makes them age, makes them older.
Makes
You
us
know, like
denser, right?
makes it denser. And especially with meat, obviously, that's another part of it. You know, and then if all these vegetables and fruits were grown underground hydroponically with nutrient inputs, you know, industrial inputs from the get-go, so we've never even known it not to be that way, which would make the organic label, you know, quite a like a superstar when it's certainly here in Australia, because it's so certified, it's so regulated that you know you're getting food that hasn't been grown with chemicals. But we don't really ever certify if we're getting food that's been grown in soil, under the sun, above ground, because our very own eyes, and once we go back to what our eyes show us, what is obvious is we can't see food production at all, barely at all. Even if you live rural, you barely see it. At the most, maybe 100 cows in someone's paddock, you know. But as far as, I don't even see chicken farms. And how much chicken? And what is chicken in the market, you know? Like it
Wow.
just,
Hannibal
yeah.
Lecter told us that one, doesn't it?
Mm,
What did he say? Humans taste like chicken.
yeah.
All right, Brave
So
New World, Soylent Green.
So it's interesting that they're kind of setting up this dynamic now where people are saying, okay, it's obvious to me that this food is fake, so I'm going to go buy my food here. But unless they're buying food from community gardens and farmers markets, it's essentially the same production packaged differently, you know, because like the timeline on food is that we have evidence that food was not part of the previous culture.
It looks like that way, right? And when the frequencies change, you know, is that what they're doing to keep us down in frequency, right? Filling us up with these, you know, physical, dense foods, right? Especially, you know, when it comes to meat, you know, our friends, the animals, like that's the
Yeah.
worst thing. Like, why are we eating them? Why do we have to? It's so weird. But has this been part of how they've maybe altered us a little bit? You know, we've got the orphan trains. We know about the tunnels underground. Now there's a lot of talk about cloning and all this. You know, we've been altered to be able to process this to keep us down in vibration because, you know, as we
Yeah.
know, we're coming out of a negative charge, right? And into a
Yeah.
positive one, but they're trying to keep us down,
Yeah.
down into the negative charge. And, you know, we have all these palaces, they call them, from the old world, you know, like Versailles, and they're surrounded by acres and acres and acres of gardens,
Mm-hmm.
but not one vegetable.
Mm-hmm. Of course, we would say that obviously vegetable gardens come and go pretty quickly if left unattended, but you would still find evidence of food production
Mm.
because when you're producing food on large scale, you know, you need infrastructure. And since we were talking about advanced civilization, if they were growing food, we would have something showing that to us, but we don't. There's nothing there, and certainly none of the buildings facilitate, you know, kitchens. You
No.
know, any kitchens we find are add-ons or additions, add-ons. Same with the bathrooms,
Yep.
add-ons,
Yep.
modifications.
No warehouses, no
Mm,
transportation, you know, set up to take food, you know, from there to warehousing, refrigeration, right?
yep.
All this kind of stuff that you need to get this going, it doesn't exist. And then there's the whole global food thing, right? Which started, you know, quite a while ago, is, you know, like countries aren't even growing their own food to eat. Like they grow it and then they ship it off to another country, and then the food they eat comes in from another country.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Yep.
apparently, right? Is that part of the whole scam?
Yeah. It's certainly once you start looking at the food chain and then go back to that example of the capsicums and why they're always there and always so perfect and always displayed and how everything's always you go into Woolworths, and I swear to God, over 50 years, you must be thinking unnervingly, this looks like a set. Like I'm
Mm.
going into a set right now. And it's across the entire Western world, right? So, okay. So,
Well,
Cam, when we were looking at the Ocean series, one of the things that I came across, which was nothing to do with the Ocean series, was the history on refrigeration, which really surprised me because I've never really thought about it. I've never really thought about it. But
it's
let
a
me just,
crazy one, right? And I mean,
yeah,
just as a side note, why do they call it the food chain? What are they
yeah,
chaining us to exactly? It's like the
the
chained
food
unicorn,
chain.
right?
Yes, quite right. In 1882, the first meat shipment leaves New Zealand. Now, let me tell you the story quickly. it basically left New Zealand. So this is how it rolled out. The someone was America or the UK, I think it was Britain requested that New Zealand in 1882, like what did the fuck did New Zealand look like in 1882? That New Zealand build a meat works and slaughter 5,000 sheep, pigs, and cows carcasses. Then build refrigerated meat works, right? Using basically steam technology, mechanical technology, not because we don't have electricity at this point. No one's even considered the concept of electricity. Managed to build basically a cold room facility to hold 5,000 carcasses. I mean, can you imagine the scale of that? And then basically build a boat that would also manage to use the same technology, inverted commas, refrigerate the entire underbelly of the boat to the point of getting these frozen carcasses at -0 temperatures and hold that at sea for 92 days, between 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then arrive in Britain with still 5,000 frozen carcasses in 1882. That's a fucking crazy story, my friend.
It's crazy, right? They tell us, the first refrigeration was based on gases, we've all seen, pipes that are cold from gases. And the main one they used was they call ether, which I find very interesting. But this is the whole stupidity of the
Saw
story
that.
is why would New Zealand's covered in sheep and no doubt lots and lots of cows. England, definitely lots and lots of cows. Why are they trading meat? Why aren't they just eating what they're producing naturally? Because up until that date, they clearly had enough food for their population, right? So what is this whole we need to now transport food around the world? Like
Yeah.
we've talked about the ocean, right? Are they like maybe getting cargo from the ocean
Well, I mean, it seems to
if
be
it's
a giant
real?
deception. Yeah, I mean, it feels very gigantically deceptive. Like, again, like I agree with you, Cam. Like, what would be the natural organic origin of that concept that we would want to go across the whole world with all these difficult passages of sail to bring meat back from that country into our country? I mean, England has beautiful farmland and also a lot of empty farmland. Like the majority of England is empty fields and farmland. They can't grow 5,000 of their own sheep, pigs, and cows. It
Mm.
does. I totally agree with you. It makes zero sense why, just like the internet cables going underwater, it makes zero sense why we would have created organically a food chain that's reliant on growing and exporting and importing. It makes no fucking sense.
No sense at all. And then we've got the whole, Billy Goat was buying up all the chicken farms in the USA. And basically, they made all the farmers kill all their stock, right? Because of bird flu. So, but that didn't like put a dent at all in the food. And, it's all through, Europe,
Yep.
England. They're now shutting down farms, right? Because,
Yeah,
cow farts and vegetables are making the world explode. Like, how is this
100%.
possible if the
Yeah.
population's rising and they're just cutting out all the food production?
Yes.
How is there food everywhere still?
Yes, I totally agree with you. The plight of the farmer across the world is dire. There's no support for farmers. There's like they're cut out of the market. They're basically, it feels like they're part of the set to give us the illusion of fresh food, but irrelevant to the actual food system. Like
Mm.
it's a token gesture to add, like it's almost like the farmers are the NCPs of the food chain, like they're around it to give it a concept that this exists and this is happening. And I work in this industry. So I'm really clear about how to actually produces and break into the grocery stores. It's like it's almost impossible. And I've heard hundreds of stories of farmers contracting with Woolworths or Coles, and then they came to the growing season and said, no, 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 we can't use any of this. You're going to have to destroy it. Like the way that the governmental bodies and supermarkets handle the administration of what farmers produce and what farmers are is seems to be so negligible and so unsupportive in every way that you would see that the farmers are literally irrelevant to their system. Like they're irrelevant.
Yeah.
They're just like actors that they cast and throw away, side actors cast, throw away. It is certainly no reverence on the fact that without the farmers we wouldn't have food, which is not true, right? That's what we're starting to get at. It actually doesn't depend on having food growers or farmers. They're all just for show.
Yeah, yeah. And then we've got the amount of food that's thrown out, like you said, all these crops, all the chickens, but also just waste, from supermarkets because people aren't buying all the vegetables. In Australia, it's something like 380,000 tons a year is thrown
Yeah.
away. Thrown away.
Yep.
So you got to add that to the whole production. And that's after we've fed everyone. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
It doesn't make any sense. So I'm not putting the sound onto this. It's a slow little documentary, but I'm just for background as we talk about this. So this abattoir. Oh, that's the ship. That's the first ship
That's the
that
ship.
took the 5,000 carcasses. So that's what it looks like. I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with a carcass, but I've been living on farms now for a long time and have dealt with quite a few carcasses. And I can tell you they are heavy motherfuckers. It's hard work, hard going, and to keep the temperature for just a homestead. So this apparently is the farm that they grew 5,000 beasts from, and stored. So that initial storing of frozen, so not only do they have to grow them and then kill them, at the top level, they apparently, according to historical records, that they killed 10,000 carcasses and froze 10,000 carcasses in 1886.
Yeah.
Just to bear in mind, pre-light bulb, pre-electricity, and they're doing this shit. See that? Hanging those. So that drawing is meant to be people hanging carcasses, 5,000 of them, covering them, sewing onto them
Bags
like
of
canvas.
sawdust.
Yeah, yeah, surrounding them in bags of sawdust. This is what they look like, and then putting them onto the boat frozen. I mean, do
Mm.
any of those men look like they're in freezing conditions? Like, like this, the concept. I
Mm.
had one beast here frozen in our ice chest freezer. And to keep the temperature on that creature for a week was, mindful behavior. We had to check in on it, check it, check it, check it. To do 5,000 to 10,000 on a boat crossing the Pacific, where the temperatures are, like fluctuating so dramatically and hot. And water, of course, warm water melts, cold melts ice,
Well,
so
unless you put sawdust around it, right? Because the ice industry started before this, like early 1800s, and the way they explain it is they put sawdust around these ice blocks because it's such a good insulator. That's literally
yeah,
the story. Then it moved on to train carts, refrigerated, and what did they do? They put blocks of ice on each end of the train cart. That's it, right? And apparently they didn't
yeah,
melt because it was magic ice,
yeah.
and it kept
That's
everything cold enough that they would,
magic sawdust.
yeah, magic sawdust. It's all magic, right? It's an illusion, right? It's got to be. It just doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, we should try it.
Yeah.
If you're around and you got some sawdust, chuck some ice blocks in a bowl, put some sawdust on them, and see how long they stay frozen.
Exactly. I mean, it's so we could easily evidence the ridiculousness of this. This image I paused on, that is the first meatworks, apparently, photograph of the meatworks. Just bear in mind again, no electricity, no power, no light bulbs, nothing of the sort. But yet, look what they've generated. This is in 1886 in New Zealand. Where are the brickworks? Where are all these factories that are giving them the resources to create this? Of course, we know this is what we're talking about in 1886. And then you'll see in the next shot again, that's the boat. So the ships became refrigeration plants. I
Yeah,
mean, this is basically the same year, Campbell, that they're laying the first transatlantic cable
yeah,
into the
yeah,
ocean. They're also floating refrigeration plants across the fucking world. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't know any of this. Did you know any of this? It's insane.
No, no, no. They definitely don't teach us this in school, right? But I've always, thought that it was very interesting that, these factories where they do everything are called plants, right? Plants. Just
Plants.
like what we call things that
Mm.
grow out of the ground, right? Plants. Is that like a bit of, wink, wink? That's what a plant is. It comes from a plant, right? And a plant, you know,
Mm,
the other
mm.
interpretation is something that's been put somewhere without people knowing. It's a plant, right? I mean, it's interesting spell casting, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's also, yes, absolutely. So we're led to believe that refrigeration was up and running in abundance 100 years earlier than this, right? 100 years earlier than this. Let me just stop share there for a second. I
Mm.
mean, everyone's getting the sense of what we're talking about here, right? Because it's, it's pretty big shit.
Yeah, yeah. And
Just
why
to
is it
give us a summary, like,
why are they refrigerating again? They are refrigerating.
yeah, that's
It's,
true. That's
it's all
true.
these weird
Yep.
things, right?
All right, so I'm going to give you the basic historical timeline, right? So if we started in the 1600s, which, where would we put that in our timeline? Like that's an unknown, that's an edge. But in the
Yes.
1600s, no electricity, but apparently they had pre-industrial cold technology. Apparently, pre-industrial cold technology, right? So
Yeah.
they did have obviously, apparently, ice houses. And they began to harvest ice at a large scale and ship it. Do you know about the ice market? Have you heard of that in your research?
Yeah, yeah. 1802.
Yeah.
Someone was looking at the boats and noticing that they were
So
empty.
it became a massive thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's big.
Apparently, they were shipping massive blocks of ice. Yeah,
Mm.
and they were shipping massive blocks of ice from like England to India and the Caribbean islands. Like, what? This is the 1700s.
Yeah, and to
Like,
India. To India
still
from
zero
America.
electricity on Earth at this point. Just,
Yeah.
just still no electricity to
It's
fucking India.
literally they say that yeah, the dude who
Yeah.
invented it
All
saw all
right.
the
So
ships going
1800
out.
to 1850, this,
Man, we're talking over each other. This bloody hell internet. And see, they still can't get the internet to work properly. It
sorry.
sucks.
Yeah,
It
sorry.
sucks. No, that's okay.
We
Yeah, yeah, they
try.
were
We're
shipping it.
trying.
Like they
Mm.
were empty ships, like leaving America, right? To go out and then bring back stock. And this guy's like, I know what the world needs, ice, ice. And so he started filling them up with ice. And apparently the first couple of loads melted,
Yeah.
but then he sorted it out. And they were shipping it from America, like the Caribbean and that, but
Yeah.
to India by sailboat and getting it there
Yeah.
in the tropics unmelted.
Yes, that's correct, Campbell. Yes. By steam engines, by
Steam engines.
steam power.
Steam power,
Yes.
yeah. And one of the first guys to apparently invent refrigeration was an
I was
Australian.
saying that in 1834, the first conceptual refrigerator machine was patented by Jacob Perkins, which I think is who you're talking about right now, but never
Oh,
commercially viable.
yes, yeah, yes. Then there was Carl
So,
von Lind as well, who did something. Who he invented refrigeration. It's all these people that we've never heard of doing these things that are impossible. It's a silly story. But you talk.
I mean, the 1840s to the 1850s, the colonial supply chains expand globally, but still no electricity or lighting. So only powered by steam, gas lamps, whale oil, and candles. But we do have a global colonial supply chain operating giant refrigerated ships across the world. It's just so crazy.
Yeah.
So, all right.
James
So
Harrison was the
1860.
Australian guy who invented, yeah. And if you look into it, the reason they invented refrigeration was to keep beer cold. That's what they tell you.
What is it really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, so that brings us to 1879 to 1882, food freezing before, once again, household electricity. So, and then this started with the first maiden voyage from Australia to the UK. Apparently, the first successful voyage shipping frozen meat using a steam-powered mechanical refrigeration system. Powered by the ship's own steam engine, runs refrigeration without electricity. And then in 1882, you get the SS Dunedin from New Zealand to UK, which was its first
Dunedin.
successful export from New Zealand. 98 days at sea. They only had to throw away one carcass from contamination. And
Wow.
this happened without electricity. And
And I
we've
mean, you've
got
got to ask
eight.
yourself, why wouldn't they transport them live? Like why would you go to the whole effort of slaughtering them, freezing them, and taking them across frozen when you could just take them across live and you don't have to worry at all about
Well,
refrigeration,
well,
right?
even that's a crazy concept because crossing live with an animal at sea for 4 days, I mean, that's like months of shit and urine and seasickness and food.
Mm. Well, they do it today.
They do in those big, horrible cargo ships.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
disgusting. I
And
hate that food.
yeah,
So
it's not
so
good.
essentially what we're saying is our food chain was rolled out. It was literally, they were rolling out a colonial global food chain where they're already exporting and importing. That's what they were doing before we even had the basics running in, even probably even before we even had kitchens almost. Like the basic human needs to operate weren't even invented, inverted commas yet, but the World Trade Fairs were rolling out products and industrial products. They were rolling out babies and industrial food. And then we've got like these massive refrigeration ships rolling out a global like food chain before we as the human race, we don't have toilets at this point. We've got no flushing sewage at this point. We've got no light at this point. We've got no tools at this point. We've got nothing at all, but we have giant ships sailing frozen meat and a run to a food chain that's been set up to then like take that frozen carcass, hold that frozen carcass, and then distribute that frozen carcass. And all while in the meantime, while every single country who's importing food has got infinite amount of spare farmland to grow their own.
It,
So it literally had nothing to do with the food, Campbell.
no, it's like the internet story, right? They ran cables across the ocean before they even ran them through towns down the street. And so the same thing, right? They're shipping all
Exactly.
this
It's the
food
same story.
around the world with refrigeration, instead of just getting the
Yeah.
food from the communities. They tell us that the populations were much
Yep.
smaller. There weren't as many jobs, so there were more farmers. I mean, why would you even conceive of sending food overseas when you can grow everything that you need, within a few kilometers? It makes no sense at all. And
Yeah.
it's all, the story's always it was for business. Oh, they were making money off it. How is it possible that you can somehow get food, meat, refrigerated frozen meat across the realm cheaper than you can just, get Nelly slaughtered down the road and like sold in the shop? It just makes absolutely no sense when you think about it. It's a crazy, crazy story.
Yeah. So there's another agenda afoot. And, let's just go back to the capsicums that have been there every single day of your entire life. There is another agenda afoot. So do you know it took 100 years it took 100 more years to get electricity basically into the homes and start to create electrical grids. 100 more years after these giant refrigeration cargo ships were happily roaming around the oceans, exporting and importing food. 100 more years. Because really, electricity didn't really hit like the grids didn't really establish till like the 1940s to the 1960s, especially in Australia and New Zealand and
Mm.
America. Like these things weren't really, that's like 100 years after all of this stuff. It is just like it makes no organic sense.
No, and like they're shipping all this stuff around frozen, right? Getting it to different countries, but the people living in those countries didn't have refrigerators or freezers yet. Like they didn't hit the markets until what, the 20s or 30s, and that was for the more advanced countries. So, I mean, like what's happening? Here's all the frozen meat. Take it home and eat it before it thaws out. How were they storing the meat before
I
sold it?
know,
They do say that they had
I
refrigerated
know.
warehouses, and they had them in Australia, but that just brings more problems, especially in countries like Australia. If they were talking about Sweden or Norway, you might be able to go, okay, well, it's pretty cold there anyway. But Australia, like we hit
Yep,
45 degrees plus in summer. Like there's no
yep,
way an ice block is staying frozen for even an hour. But they've got
yep.
massive refrigerated warehouses,
Yes,
and
yes,
and
and
before
yes.
electricity. But it's just
And let's I mean, I don't know the mechanics here, but if you're operating it off steam engine, like there's a lot of resources required to keep that steam going. I'm assuming it's coal. Would
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is that the
Well,
grounds of this?
that's the
So
dumb thing, right? Is it takes
yeah,
heat to create the cold. So they're producing all
yes,
this heat, but it's not affecting anything. It's just the cold that goes in and freezes everything solid. I mean, it's
yes.
it's dumb.
So
It's and so many more
how does
resources.
saying where did all the coal come from? Were they importing the coal in order to like, keep these frozen meatworks? I mean, that would have been like, if you were an organic human race that hadn't been interfered with, invaded, and reset, it would be quite an abnormality and miraculous thing that you could go into a building pre the light bulb and electricity and it's frozen. Like that is quite a miraculous unfolding, like not just a little test subject, but like acres of frozen warehouses. Like that would be mind blowing. Would that not be the most mind blowing thing?
It's crazy. I mean, you just think about the infrastructure that it takes, that it requires to do what they're saying that they did, to send a
Yeah.
boat across, with
Yep.
freezer, you need coal mines, right? You need all the workers there, you need the warehousing, you need the transportation to get it out there, right? Then you need all the factories that are building these massive machines, right? That are refrigerating everything. You need to get the gases in massive quantities. Where are they getting that from? Where are they storing it? Right? All these things. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And the alternative is you got, old MacDonald down the road, and once every few weeks he slaughters an animal, the town eats it, and that's it. You just walk it, you lead it down the down your dirt road, right, to the butcher. Dunk dunk dunk. Everyone gets theirs, as it's butchered, goes home and cooks it up and eats it. Compared to this massive infrastructure, so it's not even feasible money wise,
Yeah.
right? But we're told that
Yeah.
people were making millions of dollars off all this stuff. It makes like it's a real
Yeah. I mean,
mind bender, right? It's just so dumb when you look into it that
yeah,
you
and it really sets it up. It really sets up the modern food chain. It really sets up the story that we're reliant on global economics. We're reliant on other countries and it really sets up. It's like the blueprint was okay, they kind of divided all the lands into what that land would produce and import and export way before they tended to any other needs. So I mean, and the refrigeration story is an excellent one because it basically appears suddenly fully formed. It's fully fucking formed. It's
mm,
it has no hardly any experimental prototypes, hardly any catastrophes or failures, hardly any like explosions or anything like this. It's just sort of like the internet cables. It just arrives fully formed and just starts operating. And once again, it's operating on the fucking ocean water. Once again, our entire food economy is dependent at this point on the ocean. Oh my God, surprise, surprise. Let's
yeah,
bring
yeah.
back another one of our, necessities of reality, and it's all happening in the fucking ocean.
Yeah, they're not sending
Again.
it by plane, that's all in ships, all of it, and it's just even today, imagine the amount of resources and energy it would take to build refrigerated container ship. Again, compared to old McDonald down the road, just, waltzing old Nelly up to the butcher. It just makes no sense at all. There's clearly an agenda here. There's a reason
And
that they are swapping food. It's like Australia. We grow so much. We grow a lot of all these different products, right? Mangoes and bananas, blah, blah, blah. They all go offshore, and the stuff we end up eating gets brought in. But
And
from where?
ironically, Campbell, when we talk about Australia's history, most of those plantations were innovated, discovered, and owned originally and always by the Chinese.
Yes.
So it's not like we even like in Australia even innovated anything. Like it was already exporting itself to and owned by other nationals.
Mm.
So international. So I mean, it's just a crazy story, but it sets up the story because if we were reset, reintroduced, we never dealt with food before in this way. And then the World Trade Fair markets, like everything else, introduced everything that was going to be part of this new time. And then,
Yep.
like, that just naturally also introduces this floating, food situation. I mean, the ships that are claimed to be refrigeration systems, that was hyper advanced. And it was introduced out of nowhere. The actual system was called a Bell-Coleman system. This is dry air compression, steam-powered pistons. I'm just reading my list now. Sub-zero temperature regulation, circulation tunnels, airflow engineering, ammonia or CO2 refrigerant, and industrial insulation. All of that expertise to build a floating freezer factory in the 1880s when we couldn't produce reliable steel. We couldn't insulate buildings. We couldn't even insulate anything, and couldn't electrify any rural zones whatsoever. So, like, literally, the story is technology that's come through. Not it's interesting that what a human being is requires to live in any sort of advanced method is always the last thing. The last thing. It's like the blueprint is always rolled out way before the needs of the actual people are considered or adapted into the plan.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
I mean,
foreign
essentially,
agenda. I mean, I was just reading this. Preserving foodstuffs by mechanical refrigeration became an industrial possibility only in the 1870s and 80s. The key innovation was a particular kind of heat pump. But then it goes on to say, prior to this, so prior to refrigeration, a vast and lucrative trade in natural ice had fueled the preservative industry. So before they had refrigeration, they were shipping ice around the world.
yeah, with sawdust, in sawdust.
In sawdust, oh, sorry, in sawdust, of course. That makes everything right.
I mean, it's
It's
so
so
crazy.
insulative.
Like, why would anyone need to buy ice? If you're a continent that like, why would you need to buy ice if you didn't already produce it organically? You would have
And
just adapted without it. It wouldn't have been a part of anything. So why would you be wanting ships full of melting blocks of ice to enter your what's going to happen at that
to
point?
cool the
It's
beer.
all in a delusion, right? It's all to set up this idea of global imports and exports. It's nothing to do with the practicalities or needs for blocks of fucking ice. It's so dumb.
I mean, especially Australia and New Zealand. Why wouldn't they just go to Antarctica?
Yeah, right.
Ice
Next door.
everywhere, right? Like it's very
Hello. We
close. No, but no, they're going to make it and ship it across to bloody Europe. I mean, come
and
on.
there's snow in New Zealand. We have
Yeah,
all those things.
exactly. Yeah, New Zealand, they could literally, yeah, dig it out of
So,
the
I
lakes and
mean,
stuff.
yes, and India definitely has snow and ice. This isn't something that that was a miracle to them. They would have had it if they needed it at any time.
Yeah,
So,
man.
I mean, can you hear me? So if you think about this equation, the colonies, the new founded lands, which are meant to have no infrastructure, aka Australia and New Zealand, they had from this model, they would have had better refrigeration technology than the colonizers. How does that make any sense? How would they have better refrigeration technology than the people who have colonized them, who've been in existence for hundreds and hundreds of years? That should never
Mm.
happen organically, right?
It's the
A
convicts,
colony is
man.
never going to suppress the empire
Those
technologically, ever.
those convicts were very talented people. I mean, look what they built in like 50 years. They built out all of Australia, man. So I think it's the convicts.
Yeah, yep, yes, and yes, and yes. All right. So, I mean, there's no clear research and development pathway. I mean, that's essentially, what this comes down to. There's no clear. And it's the same with the supermarkets. How do Woolworths provide carrots and capsicums every day of my life across the world, in every industry, in every food producing market, every single day? Where's the research and development? That hasn't happened from the ground up. We haven't seen farms like develop to take on board a new population. In fact, we've seen the opposite. We've seen them like de-evolve and become less and less relevant, and yet our food stays stable and abundant. So then what we're setting up here is that our entire food chain since the reset, and has nothing to do with food, way
Completely
more
in
to do with what's in those things we now call food.
Yeah, it's a completely inorganic, thing, right? It's clearly not organic. Again, you don't go wandering through the forest and find this food growing there because it doesn't, because it ain't
Yeah.
natural. All been introduced all through the world's fairs, all this stuff. We're told 3 meals a day. You got to eat 3 meals a day, right? And they call it a diet, right? Three-quarters of the word is die. Like there's something
Yeah.
going on
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So. Is this
Yeah.
a way to keep us low in frequency, to keep us dumbed down, to keep us controllable? Because, with all the research, it doesn't look like we were we needed it, right? Post the last reset, that there's no evidence
Yeah.
for it.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yes. And we didn't hear, there's not many historical accounts. Once this ship from New Zealand arrived with only one contaminated, all the other
Carcass.
4,999 carcasses remained completely frozen. Like,
How did
so we didn't
one
see,
carcass thaw out between
yeah, I
5,000
know.
and none of the other ones even partly thawed out? It's
I
just,
mean, it's the same sort of story as like the architectural competitions, and then they build this
yeah.
amazing building in a year.
Mm,
Because, if you were to be technology, like what you're actually asking of it is that it travels the globe or the globe from their term, for 6 months at sea, completely without failure, worked after the third attempt completely without failure, and has been working and advancing ever since. It is exactly the same story of refrigeration. I mean, if you think about it, Campbell, the system that would have had to have supported this sort of coordinated effort, I mean, you're talking about industrial slaughterhouses, freezing works, insulated rail cars, refrigerated docks, freezer hold ships, London cold stores, and distribution networks. All of this without telecommunications, electrical coordination, or any modern logistics. Like, that's like something you would only imagine happening today.
mm.
Not back then.
No, definitely not with the narrative they give us. It makes no sense at all. And just attempting to do it makes no sense at all because there's so much more resource, so much more infrastructure needed, all this stuff. And then you know, after all this, they could just feed themselves from, the land around the villages. It makes no sense at all.
But of course, this way they have an economic model that they control, but they also control the amount of money that it's going to now cost you to buy it. So then they have a global, and this blueprint is how the world's been structured,
Mm,
and we've been sold a delusion. And one of those is this access to fresh food, and that food is fresh. That's the illusion. But literally, this has been part of their blueprint from the beginning of this reset, at least. So, like, even like a little question, Cam, like, okay, so they're going to tell us that they built an industrial sized refrigerated system warehouse that could keep 10,000 carcasses at zero temperature in New Zealand in 1860. But then what about like transporting those carcasses? Like, what are they using to transport it? Like, they don't have mobile refrigerated trucks. All they have are wagons at this point. There's no cars or automobiles. They have wagons. So they're transporting these frozen 10,000, 5,000 carcasses on wagons to the boat, loading it into, and all of that without like throwing out any of the meat. Like, and we're going on about this because we just want to break through the programming that we've just accepted this system as it stands today, but actually it's
mm.
all part of the fucking delusion. And of
Yeah.
course, like, linger on fast food for a minute.
And
Tell them everything you know about that.
it gives them control as well, right? This is how they can create first world and third world countries. This is how they can create
Yeah.
famines because it's
Yeah.
a supply chain,
Yes.
right? So this is
Exactly.
how they make all these different,
Yeah.
first world, different class countries, right? Because they have controlled the supply chain from the start. And we're talking
Yeah.
1850s, right?
Yeah.
Same time that the orphan trains were coming out, same time that the World's Fairs were coming out, same time that all these new laws and rules and ways of building, it all came out in the 1850s, all of it, right? So it's clearly all part of the control system. And, we've been questioning diets for so long and, do we even need to eat? There's all this breatharian stuff and there's fasting and drinking your own wee, right? All this stuff and no evidence of food production or kitchens or anything in the old world, right? I mean, you can go through art, right? In the old art pictures, at the best you'll see, a pig with an apple in its mouth or some fruit. You never
Mhm.
see kitchens, you never see, these made up recipes. What does recipe mean? I don't know. Recipe? I don't know, right? All these re words.
Yeah, and it was so, this coordinated effort, so the population, whether we had amnesia or not, whether or not we were completely void of our own individual thinking at this point, which is possible, it really set up the idea that food did and delivered. So I actually looked at I was going to show a little clip This is a random clip because I was trying to find the information, right, about the oldest recipes and all that stuff, but I'm not going to put the volume on, but just as a background while we're finishing this show, I want to show you. So this guy, this guy, I'll just press play. I'll put it on hyperspeed. I spent $16,000 going online and finding as much
What?
unopened, the oldest unopened food he could find, right?
Was that a can of Doritos drink?
Yeah. So this is and bought the oldest open food. And so this is just to show you, this is starts at the oldest ones. I think we started in like maybe the 1900s. So this is food. That's almond paste. And he goes through this food. I'll put the link in the description if you're interested. Actually, maybe I'm doing it too fast. Maybe you can't take it in at this speed. We're not adjusted. Let's go down to 2. And it shows you what food lasted, what food didn't, and what was disgusting. But everything started to be packaged, right? All the herbs, all the spices, all the butters, all the drinks. So that it all this introduction of industrial food, it just became a part of the method. So we got programmed to go and buy our food from stores, right? Hitting the market without those products and then package those products and then distribute those products. So there's a whole like unfolding that's happened, and it seems to happen with our eyes shut. It just kind of happened, and it was very coordinated and very organized, which means for them to put their attention on creating food like this and the refrigerated ships and the imports and exports, there was a very important agenda there. Like they must have identified that food is the one place that they can control and put into that food anything they want, program us to take on board industrial packaged food as if it was a standard thing, which we all still do today. We go to the supermarket, there it all is. And then program us to see that as the food chain that we would now say is food, right? The last 20 years, there's been a new adoption of community gardens and farmers markets, right? But like that's been it's a relatively new pushback against the poisons in our food. You'd think that would be the most established part of the food chain, or farmers markets and community gardens, but it's like the least. It's the one that's had to fight its way through, not the one that's actually like been introduced and reveled in. Original items that they're showing just start to continue through the decades with better packaging, more and more ingredients until they're just established. So we would watch these and we get the introduction of fast food. That'll happen sort of in the same decade to show you. So, all right, that whole purpose of that clip was just to show you how extensive this industrial food network has been and how it's always been about introducing products to us that give us the delusion that we're eating food, but it's not food. Now, I just wanted to show you one more thing, which is not about this topic, but I just thought it was very interesting because, Cam, it reminds us about this falsity of the population, right? And
yes.
Going back to that, can you see that? Can you see that?
It's only small, but
someone made this table, and it's basically back to this idea of the population having to import and export food. Everything to import and export food is reliant on the idea that we've run out of there's more people than food.
Yeah, famine, right? Famine, lack, empty supermarkets. Oh my God.
So, all right, let's just do the math there. Have you just read that? So this is about the impossible family tree, just to add to the population bullshit deception that plays into the food chain deception. So you start with a generation 0 and 1 person. Then you go back 10 generations and each generation has to double because it has 2 people to make a baby, which 600 years ago would say that we'd have to have 1 million people alive today just for us to be born. Go back 30 generations and we would need at least 1 billion people to exist in 1100 AD for us to exist. Isn't that crazy? So like the point of it is that we have this idea that the family tree keeps building on itself and the population grows and grows and grows. But from this graph, that they have to 1200 years ago superseded the population of today in order for you and I to exist and have been born with 2 parents, which is required. So anyway, that's just another random thing. So he's just saying in here, if the official history is real, you have 1 trillion ancestors in 1200 AD. Explain that.
Explain that. Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting, right? It's all, yeah, the illusion's dropping very
Go
quickly, right?
that
The
is
veil is lifting, right? Maybe it's Three-Eye Atlas. Who knows why it's lifting so fast? But, I think we're getting to a precipice. Everyone's starting to see this, and this is why all this internet crap, IDs and social media bans to help the children, even though we're not going to do Roblox. It's all crap, right? And it's all going to fail very big time. So, you know, don't get worried about it, guys. I think that we'll still be here, right?
have
In
you ever
10
seen
years with our grey hair prattling on.
have you seen the movie Campbell Cloud Atlas?
Yes, yeah, many, many years ago. But I mean, I think that also had some freezing people for food kind of stuff in it, didn't it?
Yeah, so Cloud Atlas, funnily enough, 'cause that's very similar to the name of this space rock.
Ah, the Three-Eye Atlas. Yeah, yeah, good point. This is
Showed
clever.
basically it was, if you haven't seen it, it's worth seeing, even though we can't stand it now because Tom Hanks is all the way through it, and so you probably don't want to watch it. But basically it was representing past lives, and it was combining the past lives of these characters as they've moved through their past lives, right? And then when they got to the future, which is about where we are at, there was this working class of humans, us essentially, and they were going to work every day and being in that enslaved job. And then at nighttime they were being fed food, and the food was like a pink, like kind of like
The
the ice
pink
creams that
goo.
you get at McDonald's, that sort of soft serve, but they're all pink. And if
Yeah,
you if you look at the production of, say, most chicken like things, it ends
yeah.
up being this pink
Chicken nuggets.
like ice cream like stuff. And
Mm,
then yeah, and then yeah. And then the humans, one human worked out that that was they were eating the remains of their fellow servers. And when you look at concepts like that, I think we're probably in basically the same situation. It's the same setup. I would say that nothing about our fresh food people, it's fresh. We know that most of the food's imported, so that's already takes out the word fresh. We know that it's in possible mass to keep these vegetables and fruit and meat, constantly stocked no matter what. And we know that the majority of the food take the fresh fruit out of it, and the rest of it's poisonous and industrial waste products. And then, we're just going
mm,
to add in the fresh food side of it and say that it's virtually impossible, and that they have literally controlled it since the beginning, introduced technology that once again moves across the ocean. And it all came about exactly the same time as the transatlantic cable and the internet. Every system that we needed in place for the next 200 years to get us to today was brought in then. And
mm.
we've been under the deception and delusion of it ever fucking since.
Yeah, yeah. And all of the major food companies we've got today, like Kraft and Nestle and all these big, massive corporations, they were all introduced at the World Fairs. They were all the original food companies, and they are all still here, and they are now some of the biggest corporations in the
Yeah.
realm. Right. So it's by design. This is all by design. It makes absolutely no sense at all to look at it any other way.
So
So
where
there
does
we
that leave
go.
us then, Mr.
Well,
Purvis?
well, that leaves us with lots of questions. And I guess, yeah, like we've really got to look at what we eat, right? And how much we eat. And should we just
Freaking
be drinking pee all the time and recycling it? Or should we just be breathing air? And this is another thing, they spray all this stuff in the air. Is that to take some of the energy out of it? Because they're definitely controlling how we get our energy. What's powering us? What's empowering us? They've taken over it and
well,
controlled it.
and
So,
what's powering them?
and what's powering them, which is
And
probably us.
what's powering our industrial food complex? I mean, there's enough evidence in the fast food chain that it's human. The meat in the fast food chain's human. There's enough evidence of the way that this has been produced and the way that it's unfolded historically, that there is a strong control chain around food, and that food's been pushed. Of course, there are species that have innately, without knowing it, been eating your own species. That's about the lowest. Are you there? Did you hear any of that?
I heard little bits of it, but this has been my experience for the last 2 hours, basically.
So, I mean, I guess what I was saying is that, if we look at it from this lens, potentially the energy that's being imputed into this industrial devilish food chain is human meat. I mean, there's enough evidence in the fast food chain that there's human DNA all the way through it. We've got lots of Jewish rabbis laughing their heads off talking about that as common knowledge. But then if you bring into that also the industrial food that lines all our supermarkets, it's all full of poisonous shit. And then, of course, now we question the fresh food and where the deception has come from. And essentially, we can only guess that either this has always been, in essence, a printed food chain, or it's been underground, hydroponically grown, and, in their nutrients inputted into it food chain that's been delivered with the deception of fresh food and farms, local farms, all that marketing. So we've in a situation now where you've potentially speaking, we are so corrupted because the biggest corrupter of a vehicle like this would be to consume their own kind. That would be the biggest soul corruptor, would it not be? Would that not be the darkest, dankest, deepest,
Yeah, low
heaviest?
vibration. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Which would empower them because they're low vibration and
yeah.
would do the exact opposite for us. So they sort of win-win for them, right?
And do you think if they introduced it like 200 years ago in this format, which I think they did, this isn't a new thing, then potentially what that could have done is cause the amnesia to stick around for as long as possible. Like that it's taken us now 200 years plus to like slowly carve a path out of that. I mean, and we did
Mm,
it inevitably, the truth community, because they stopped with fluorides, they stopped with GMOs, they became like naturally we've done it this lifetime, but it's taken 200 years for us to get back to that.
mm,
That's how long the amnesia and the lack of questioning and the lack of intellect maintained itself. So if they were feeding us humans 200 years ago, right from the beginning, disguised humans and poisons and heavy metals disguised as
mm.
food and fresh food, then we've really been in a the lowest of the low vibration, which may explain, Gam, why all the images of the original people that we see post the reset is they're so like bemused, like they're so like vacant. There's
Mm.
so much, it's all vacant, like as if their minds are no longer computing, like they're like got this like as if it's kind of similar to when you walk into hospitals and they're all like, got the morphine or they're all painkillered up and they're all on the meds. They've got this sort of like,
Mm.
they're not wiring and firing to intellect and heart.
Wow.
They're just sort of like zombies.
Yeah, yeah. There's all this talk that we, weren't naturally carbon based, right? We were more silicon based. We were much more ethereal. So, filling us full of carbon based products, right? Like meat and vegetables and all that. Has that made us more solid? Has that made us the
Mm,
carbon, and of course, carbon is 666, right? In its molecular form, six molecules, right? It's by six. So is that part of the whole mark of the beast, right? Lowering us, turning us into carbon life forms rather than high vibrating silicon or crystalline type life forms.
mm. Like you look at our parents' generation and you think, gosh, they were so trusting and so ignorant, and they never had the disposition to ask questions. And then go back to our grandparents, they trusted everything. They never questioned anything. It was just like there was ultimate control and authority. Like, and that could only come from a species that have been interfered with, that haven't followed a natural progression of evolution. Like they've been interfered with, and their memories and their logical, rational, literal, creative brains have been interfered with and sort of like stopped and returned back to sort of almost like toddler era of, ultimate trust in this mum dad figure of the government or whatever. And it's taken generations to get to now where for whatever reason, we've got enough disposition and natural energy we've brought back with us this lifetime to see through the delusion within one lifetime.
Mm.
Like it's,
Yeah. And it also, proves a theory really of the reset. Like, how does a
it
species
does.
that
Yes.
invented all this stuff, apparently through evolution,
Yeah.
how do we end up with the dumbest, most controlled people being the first that we can see, right? Back in
Yeah.
the 1850s, and then slowly getting smarter. Shouldn't it be the
Yeah.
other way, especially
Yeah.
with a control system like we know we've got,
Yeah.
right? So this is why the control system, it can't be thousands of years old and tens of thousands of years old, which so many people love to think it's always been like this. It's a prison. think about it logically. It can't be that way. We're talking 300 years tops,
Yeah,
man. Like
yeah.
that's it. Otherwise, we would be we would already be, robots and droids, right? And we just would not know. But clearly, yeah, like the most controlled people were the start of this reset, and we've been waking up since, which makes absolutely no sense. It's all backwards.
Hmm. Yep. And now we're in a situation that we're trying to, like, when I talked last week about the story of the Chinese, vessels, in charge of, 60% of the world's seafood market, and and also the black metal that they're wanting to mine from the ocean
The
floor.
balls, yeah.
So I mean, essentially, the situation we're in now, if we care to put our attention onto it, because I think it's just going to have to dissolve as irrelevant to us out of the picture. It's got to dissolve out of the picture as opposed to us trying to fix it. I think that's a good thing for us to know in 2026. Our job is not to fix any of that. Our job is to let it dissolve and to focus on what we're building, So we've got to make that
Totally.
switch. But which has been difficult because as a truth seeker or anyone with any compassion or empathy for anything, any human, of course, wants to put their attention on these massive problems and try to solve them. Those massive problems have always been built into the blueprint. So now the world's set up. So it's like the humans and the nations versus the corporations, you know? Like that's the sort of dynamic. And it really struck me when I was talking about the mining on those metal balls last week, because the situation now it's a corporation trying to compete with the nation, with the people's society. Like, yeah, I mean, so that's the end result, right? It's to put it back
Mm.
into maritime law, of course.
Yeah, well, on the sea, the corporations, all the dead entities who try and tell us we're dead and lost at sea, right? Lost in their domain. But yeah, you're totally right. The way to build a new world is to go forward and build a new world. It's not to try and tear down the world that you don't want, because that is putting your focus on it. That's exactly what they
Yeah.
want.
And but it's taken a few years to get there in understanding, because obviously we're all beautiful, compassionate beings, and we want to throw ourselves in the way of harm being caused to another versus just walking away from it entirely, which is what we're about to do.
Hmm. Yeah, just ignore them. Just ignore
Hasn't
them.
become a conversation. This whole sorry,
That's all
this whole
right.
conversation that starts with the food chain and then of capsicums and carrots for me, and then into how the global food chain came about, into the lack of human cemeteries and buried bodies, and where are all the bodies going, into the fast food with their disgusting DNA poison, and into the poison of the food chain. All of that together, that's a lot of effort, right? It shows us with our own eyes they've put in a lot of effort to control and create the food chain as it stands today, which would then tell me, from my observations, that the food that they've put into us has been very important, because if we weren't interfered in that way, that would justify the trillions and trillions and trillions and effort and energy and control, and the thing that they've laid out took a lot of effort, and it
Hmm.
must be important. I would say that they decided that the easiest way to continue our amnesia and control us was to dumb us down via the food, like to introduce food as a thing we need 3 times a day, and introduce into our systems anything they want, any
Hmm.
poison, any drug, any corruption, but mainly I would say human DNA into the food chain. And that was part of the lock, part of the chain around us that kept human beings from being ultimately who we are, which
The
is
food
innate,
chain.
intelligent, and creative, making known the unknown,
Hmm.
lights.
Yeah.
So
Food chain, man. Just like they chained the unicorn. Like that's what are they showing us? But it just shows you it's got nothing to do with finance and money and business and all this crap that they put us up. They do this anyway, right? Because it's more about control systems for them. But it also shows how weak they are and how teetering their control system is. All we have to do is look at what they're doing, turn away from it, stop consuming their crap, and their control disappears extremely fast.
yeah, I mean, breaking through this deception is, it's a good one. Like, I want you guys to go into the supermarket with these eyes the next time you're there today or tomorrow, and go and look at the image of those fresh food that you've seen every day of your life, never changed, never anything new, never anything weird, never anything out of place, never anything rotting, never anything like no shift in that vision for your entire lives. Like go and see it with your own eyes and just stand there and really take it in and say, what am I looking at here? What is this stuff that I now am obliged to spend $300 a week buying to feed myself and my families? Because I believe that we have to eat because we've always eaten 3 meals a day. That's been done for the whole of human history post the pre-industrial era. Like no one
Well,
questions it, you know?
yeah, yeah. Well, anyone who's had a baby will know that you have to teach a baby to eat. You have to coax them. It's a big, big ordeal to get them to start eating solid food. It's almost like it's not natural, right?
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's
Oh,
just with
I
them. This
think
is
we've hammered that home a bit.
addition. Yeah, I mean, this is an additional bonus beat to the ocean series because it took us to refrigeration. Now, I mean, I just didn't know any of that. So I hope that was like interesting to the audience because I'm assuming none of you have also ever thought about that and how this came about and how we even had the concept of import, export, and frozen food traversing the oceans before, electricity. And you're barely in cart and wagon at this point. You're barely wearing like sacks and swimming around in the fucking sewage gutter at this point, but your meat is safely being imported on your behalf from across the world. Whew.
The
So yeah,
oceans.
Campbell, that's interesting. And maybe, maybe we can also, maybe Cam, we can theorize that they weren't actually transporting beasts. They weren't transporting animals. They didn't have these refrigerated ships put into place so early on to transport a
Whoa.
few cows.
Well,
Maybe it was not that. Maybe it was more the human equation.
that sounds like a whole other conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if they started
That's
this food chain on human DNA, I mean, we
yeah.
always have asked, where do all the bodies go? You know, So imagine if the food chain was all started with that question, where are all the bodies? Well, that's what started the food chain. And that's what's been importing and exporting in frozen fucking vessels for a long, long time. Maybe, and is that
Mm,
just an extension now of dead body cremation areas? They just get frozen, not burnt, and then sent around the world, these frozen carcasses into this underground industrial food production that's been going on for 200 years. And who knows what else has been mixed into that. And we talk about undergrounds and underground tunnels and I don't know,
yes.
man.
Well,
Like
that's a whole nother conversation which we
they're
may into
bigots.
somewhere
They care a
else.
lot about it. They
Yeah,
care a lot about it.
and not about you. But there we go, guys. Food disclosure part two almost, right? Food.
Yeah. I mean, if they didn't care about it, Cam, then we would naturally have just been like eating out of the around the village, as you say.
Yeah.
It would just is like that's the most obvious thing. We just obviously be eating. That's what would be our desire.
Mm,
Obviously, eating whatever we need from our own homesteads. Obviously, but that's never ever what happened after the reset. So
mm.
there you go, guys. Another just random deprogramming moment topic of conversation on the food chain. And have we actually tested Woolworths carrots for human DNA? I
Oh
would
God.
certainly be testing those capsicums, however. Those fucking
Yes.
capsicums, those mysterious, unwanted, uneaten capsicums.
Just grow
They're
your own,
around. It
guys,
gives you
right?
the real plot twist.
Yeah. Grow your own,
So,
whether
I
it's
mean,
food, tobacco, weed, just grow your own. Don't take government stuff because they're trying to poison you. It's an agenda.
I'm just still quite fascinated with the origin of like, if it was always about human DNA, that would link the cemeteries, the cremation, the lack of bodies. It would link the fast food and how quickly they've rolled it out. And it would be very interesting to test some of this fresh food, vegetables, and see what comes up. I don't know if they've done human DNA testing for such things, but one of the things that human DNA and human bodies could do so casually, Campbell, is make fucking fertilizer.
I was going to
Like
say the
literally
fertilizer, yeah.
make fertilizer.
Blood
So
and bone.
all those inputs, all the blood and bone, exactly, all those
Mm,
inputs that they would have needed to hydroponically grow underground without natural light, all in blue light, with human nutrient inputs. that's where I'm getting that. I mean, I can't, unless someone wants to bring in some new evidence here. That's an edge now, but that's what I'm thinking, mate. I'm
Oh,
thinking
well,
we've had,
this one
yep.
may need a part two, and who knows, three, four, five, six as well, because it's a big topic, right? I
Mm,
think we're just starting to
mm,
scratch the surface. But
yeah.
we'll get into that in the future. So 21st, guys, link below. Come and join us. 12-hour stream for the solstice. It's going to be awesome. It's episode 2, series 2, edition 2 of the newspaper. It's going to be sent out this week. If you're not subscribed, what the bloody hell are you doing? TartariaAustralia.com. Subscribe, $20 a month, and get involved, right? And of
Yep.
course, anything that you want to do, anything you want to send in, anything that you want us to know, please, please, please go through tartariaaustralia.com or tartariaaustralia@gmail.com.
Absolutely. All right, then we will finish this conversation. If anyone has anything they'd like to add to it, on the Christmas special. So if you have any thoughts you'd like to add, evidence, photos, whatever, we'd love to hear it. Let's go. Christmas special, which is like next week. Yeah, is it next week? Holy McBooley, I
Gee,
don't even know where we are. It'll
11
be
days, so like a week and
yeah,
a
yeah.
half-ish.
So it's next week. So excellent, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you on the Christmas special on the 21st of December.
Yes. All right. All links below, guys. And again, just because we're doing it, give us a like, subscribe, and share this
Yeah,
video
that's right.
around.
That's right. All right. Have a great week, guys.
Okay.
Lots of
Stay
love.
awesome. Love you guys. Bye for now.